Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you ever felt like your Python code could be cleaner, faster, or just more elegant, you are in the right place. We are about to expose some of the most common mistakes every Python programmer makes with the lists and show you exactly how to fix them. Today we are taking a deep dive into W3Schools Python Lists tutorial. We are not just going to read it, we are going to use it as our guide to uncover all the secret tricks and tips you have been missing. From creating lists to sorting and copying, get ready to rewrite everything you thought you knew. So let's start creating a list. Well, we all know how to make a list. We use a list, square brackets, and the list item goes with comma separated values. But here's the first little trick you might not be using: negative indexing. Most people just use positive numbers to access list items, like we have been doing previously, using 1, 2, 3, or starting from 0, representing the first index item. But in Python, there is something called negative indexing as well. Negative indexing means starting from the end. Basically, if you use -1, it refers to the last item in your list. If you use -2 subsequently, they refers to the second last item, etc. So if you execute the code, you see if I use -1, it refers to the last item in my list, which is cherry. If I go from here and use -2, run the code again, and just like that, we access the second last item in our list. Similarly, you can go up till -3 and run the code. What this will do, again, the third last item in your list. That way you can access your items from the browser. However, be careful. If I use -4, now what happens? We get an error. List index out of range. So that means there's no more items after fourth index. Just like in positive numbers, we have to be careful at how back we go. But negative indexing is a wonderful way of accessing last items or last two items in your list, knowing that in any scenario, what two people joined last, or what were the two last items, or what was the last item added in your list, and so forth. It's a clean, efficient, and a super readable way of accessing your items. Next, we have something called range of items as well. Now, range of items allows us to access not only a single item, but multiple items based on a given range. You can specify a range of index by specifying where to start and where to end, separated by a colon inside the square brackets. When specifying a range, the return value will always be actually a new list. So need to be careful of that. Okay. So if I execute the code, you will find that I'm giving a complete new list. When I specify 2 to 5, it means starting from 2 index, which is 0, 1, 2 cherry, to 5 index, 3, 4, and 5. This way, I get a completely new list. Very simple, very efficient way of accessing multiple items within your list. Remember that the first item is always starting at a 0 index. So by leaving out the value, you can actually access all items from 0 to the last number. So if you don't use the 0 number, it still means I will start from the 0, 2, 3, and 4 items will be presented. So 0 here you can write, or you can even omit it out. And this is a common question that we get in interviews as well. If you miss out the 0, what happens? Typically we think, hey, I need a range and I should have a number here. But if you do use a number, it's fine, it's no problem with that. But the secret trick is that you can still access the list without this initial starting point, and you can access the item. This would mean that you are already accessing item from the 0 to the given number. And same goes actually in the reverse order as well. So if I don't use the ending number and I start from 3, this basically means that I'm starting from the 3 index up till the last index. So whatever is the last index in my list will be presented here. So if I move it out, so starting from 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So starting from the third index, I get kiwi, melon, mango, all the items. That's a key thing to understand. So 0 is by default included, or the last index is also by default included, sorry. So you can access the same way. So starting from 2, if you don't only give the ending number, you can still access and create your list. One last trick is with the range, that if you are always accessing a list, keep in mind this will always return a new list. So you can say this list colon 0 comma, and let's just leave it blank. So what this will do is it will access all the list items from 0 to new list. For example, if I give 3 here, so starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, all this will be returned, and then this will be returned in a completely new list, and then you can print that list as well. Print, and then if you print this new, variable, it will print this new list. If I run the code, you see now we have a new list starting from 3 to the next number. Similarly, you can also have range of negative indexes as well. The range of negative indexes allows us to access items from the reverse direction, vice versa. Amazing. So if you want to access the last 4 items in your list, this is how you do it. Okay, so you say, for example, I start from -4 till -1. This means that I want to access items from to a certain given number, start from -4 to -1, or you can give it a range. For example, you can say, hey, start from -1, which represents the last item, colon -4, which means that start from the last item and go up till the next 4 items. That way you can access items from the reverse order as well. So use the negative numbers and the list range, you can access very quickly certain given numbers, then adding items and removing items to your list. Now, this is where a lot of people make a common critical mistake. Let's say you have 2 lists and you want to add all items from the second list into the first list. The common approach is to use a for loop, like for items in the list. And then we append the items in our list using the append method. Okay, but this works, but it's a lot of unnecessary typing and processing. The pro solution is to use the extend method. So we have something called an extend method. What this extend method does, that it extends or appends another element to the current list. So instead of manually traversing each element using a for loop and putting it in the next list, lists have this extend option as well. So what you do is you take the original list and you dot extend it and you give it the next list as well. That way you're basically joining 2 lists together, or in other words, extending list A with list B. Simple as that. So when you execute the code, now you have a one complete list that is combined of 2 different lists together. That's the beauty of it here. What about removing items? Well, there are 2 methods where basically we use to remove items in our list. First is the remove method itself. To remove any given item from a list, you use a method called remove. This will remove that item. So if you have to remove banana, just give it that item name and it will be removed from it. That's the simplest and best way to do it. Second most common way of doing it is using the pop method. The pop method removes a specific index. So for example, if you have no idea which index, which value you are removing, you just need the index number. So you can use a pop method to remove that item from the list. In this case, we have pop1, which means go into the 0 index, go into the 1 index, 1 index, this is here. So it removes the 1 index. These 2 methods are very specifically targeting elements that can be removed. If you know the element, just give it the element name. If you don't know the element, you can find an index and remove the index number from it. Next, the only takeaway thing in this video, let it be this one. When you want to create a new list based on an old one, how do you do it? You probably write a full for loop and add items from the old list into the new list. But there's a better way of doing it. This is probably what we have been doing this the whole time, but there's a better way which is much easier and much professional. It's called list comprehension. List comprehension allows you to create a new list in a single elegant line of code. Look at this example on the W3Schools website page. We create a list item first, then we create a new list is equals to, we say x for x and fruits if a in x. This means we are using something called list comprehension. It's a complete for loop and conditional statement all condensed into one powerful line. Not only is it more readable for experienced programmers, but it is also incredibly fast. This is a difference between a beginner and an expert. It's all right here in W3Schools tutorial. The way it works is that it combines a for loop and an if statement. So it's going to say that for x and fruits means that traverse the for loop using the in keyword, read each element in this loop and assign it to x. If a in x, if a exists in a, x means that if there's an a in any character with a, assign it to this new x variable, and then that x variable will be assigned to the list. Okay, so this is simple and easiest way of creating the new list. So any items that have a character in it will be assigned to this new list. In this case, cherry is skipped because there is no a character, kiwi is skipped because there is no character. So you are easily searching for something and then looping through it as well by using one single line, which is called list comprehension. The typical syntax work goes that we use an expression, we use a loop, and then we use a condition. If the condition is true, that item is finally assigned to the expression. The loop just iterates through the elements. So the first thing that executes actually is the loop. The second is the condition. If the condition is true, the item that is under the loop or under condition will be assigned to this expression, which then finally will be assigned to the list once the looping is complete. This is the most professional way or pro way of doing or duplicating a list items based on a certain condition. How about sorting? Well, sorting is a quite common function available in Python that allows us to sort the list efficiently. And to do that, you just have to use the sort function. So any list you have, either string numbers or whatever you have, you can use the list sort function to sort the items automatically. But do be careful that sometimes it does return none, and then you, in the place of that, you can use a sorted method as well. However, when you use numbers, you use a sort function and it will create a sorted list and it will append these items and rearrange it. Okay, so do be very careful about that. However, the new trick that you need to understand is that there is a way of reverse sorting as well. So if you want a descending order sort, all you have to do is pass it an argument called reverse is equals to true. This argument will allow us to reverse sort the order in a descending order. This is something interesting and have to keep in mind that in place where you don't want to sort alphabetically, but you want a descending order sort, there is an argument called reverse is equals to true that you pass to the sort method. This will sort the list for us in a descending order. Wonderful, right? So no matter which list you have, you can use the sort reverse true to sort the items in a descending order. Similarly, if you go for copy, the most important aspect of copy is that please don't do this. List 2 is equals to list 1. This is the worst thing that you can do. This doesn't create a new list at all. It just creates a reference. And any change you make to the original list will also affect the old list as well. The right way, as shown here on W3Schools, is to use the copy method. The copy method is a built-in method that allows us to copy a list. So once you have a list one, create a list, then you will use list.copy method. So what it will do is it will create a complete unique copy of this list items and assign it to the new list item. That's how you duplicate your list, in other words, without creating a reference to the original list items. If you do this, this will create a reference item to it. So once you change list 2, it will also change list 1 items. And if you change list 1, subsequently will go forward. Another default method that is available, again, many people don't know it, is called the default list method. It also does the same thing. The default list method will copy the original list and create an independent copy and assign it to the new list variable. You can use this list method as well to do the same duplicate function instead of using the copy method. So the built-in list method and copy method are the two best things that you can do to copy paste. Well, and there you have it, a complete walkthrough of Python list tutorials on W3Schools, revealing all common mistakes and elegant solutions. I hope this video was helpful for you and hopefully will level up your Python game. Now go and check out these pages yourself and start writing some better code. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe for more coding tips. And let me know in the comments below what list tricks you have learned today and that you are excited to use and what next you want to learn about. See you in the next one.